Yo, welcome to Networking with Nathaniel, a real estate and entrepreneurial podcast where I get to chat with exciting people that are doing cool things inside and outside of the real estate space. I'm Nathaniel, the host of Networking with Nathaniel, and I have the pleasure of speaking with Steve Keighery today. He told me how to pronounce his name using a Little Wayne quote, "Real G's move in silence." He switched it from like lasagna to like Kiri, which was I thought was really cool. He is a proud husband and father of a 16-year-old daughter. I believe it was the daughter 16 years old and the son is 11 years old. And I think he's going to be the first person on Networking with Nathaniel that has IPO'd and sold at least the majority of his stake in a company in another country. So I'm excited to dig into that with him, dig into how he's successfully wholesaling in New Orleans, at least mainly from what we chatted about. Welcome to the show, Steve, Aussie Steve. How you doing, brother?
Yeah, I'm good, Nathaniel, man. I really
I,
appreciate you having me on.
yeah, dude, I appreciate you being here. I think I got the quote right, or
You,
the
you did, you did. That was perfect.
yeah.
You want to be
I,
honest.
I asked literally right before I clicked let's go live, so I had to make sure. I don't know if you've watched previous episodes at this point, Steve. I like to just start out with, what's keeping you busy? What are you working on right now?
Yeah, I'm really in wholesale mode. I'm a wholesaler. I do buy as well. I buy rentals, so I do buy a little bit. I'm predominantly focused on wholesaling right now. So just moving deals. We've got a few deals happening. My dispo guy's out showing some properties right now. My acquisition people are dealing with sellers, and it's always fun and interesting dealing with off market deals. There's always stories, and it's always interesting.
Yeah, that is one thing that I do miss about being direct to seller and talking to sellers. We're just buying right now from wholesalers, as a matter of fact, but is the conversations, meeting interesting people, figuring out what's going on underneath the surface and diving into that and figuring out how I can be a good fit and a resource for these people. And, I don't know how you guys do it, how you guys work your leads, but I was always like, if I'm not a good fit, I still want to try to help this person out. That's what kind of made me tick. And sometimes me helping the person out meant turning them to a realtor that I know and trust, or turning them directly to a buyer or something like that. So I do miss it.
Yeah.
I think you doing a lot of actual talking on the phones these days? I know you mentioned you have two acquisitions personnel and a dispo person.
Yeah, I don't really talk on the phone much anymore. I mean, I started just myself, so like I did all the phone conversations, but yeah, I don't. I have two acquisition people. I'm definitely kept across it. Like I'll do call training, and like they often sit next to me. So I'm listening to them, so I'm involved, but I'm much more hands off right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so. How long did it take you to move from I'm the single person in the business, I'm wearing all the hats, to kind of becoming the leader that you are?
I think it might have been about a year before I hired an acquisition person. So like I was on the phone, I mean, I have a background in sales. My old company, like I had 90 salespeople that are working for me. So like I have a background in sales and building teams, but like I generally always start myself, So um, I think it was about a year, and then I gave up Dispo so I was doing acquisition, and then I hired an acquisition person, and I was doing cool, and I don't mean sick. And I was doing the disposition, and I did have a goal to get rid of that about 2 years ago, but
Okay.
I held on to it because I just enjoyed it. Like I really like speaking to buyers. I mean, like I've learned a lot from the buyers. I've become a much better investor myself because like I just speak to great people all the time, and they're all different. They've got different perspectives. So I held on to that for longer. It was also really easy when the market was hot. Like it was just so
Yeah.
easy. You send an email, they call you, you move it. And I did recognize that it was getting harder because the market was slowing down. So that's when I'm like, no, I got to like hire a dispo person. So I hired someone in January, and they've been awesome. And they're much more like proactive than me. They're on the phones with buyers more often. They're like, adding buyers constantly. So I got rid of that dispo this year. So now I'm like much more hands off, sort of doing marketing. My staff will tell me I press buttons. Like I'm a button presser. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
pretty much what I do.
That's it. You're the lighthouse. I don't think that you can catch whatever I have through the. Uh, I did. I like. Let me mute myself. I just. I fought it off. I think our oldest. He's almost 4. He'll be 4 in February. Got it maybe a week ago at this point, and
Hmm.
he gave it to the 2-year-old, and then my wife and I both were fighting it off, and the baby was fighting it off. And then just I think it was 2 days ago. It was just the three of us came down. Like, okay, we're all sick now. Um, just little. It's that little.
My kids have had it. My kids have had it, and my wife's actually just sick right now. I haven't got it yet, so let's see. I might be next.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'll blame you though. I'll blame you,
Yeah,
not
that's
mom.
right. That's yeah. It came through the microphone, through the
Exactly.
channels, and like right out the monitor there. So are you doing? Are you wholesaling only in New Orleans or Louisiana in general?
Yeah, so sort of, I mean, we're branded Home by Louisiana.
Okay.
So we do like, intention is to do all of Louisiana. I don't really focus on all of it right now. We're greater New Orleans. So like, around New Orleans, we go to Baton Rouge,
Okay.
which is our capital. And I do the North Shore. So, you know, like a couple hours around New Orleans, basically.
Okay.
Probably expand a bit more, at some point. But we're pretty happy there. We're sort of more localized. Like we build relationships with our buyers. We want to make sure that like we can move a deal and we contract it. So we sort of not we're more like deep, really deep in our market as opposed to going wide and just looking for deals. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are the two like kind of things that you can do. We ended up when we started looking to buy more creative deals, we cast just a huge net, basically nationwide. And then there's the other school of thought, like you're saying, and just like hone in and really deep on your market. Everybody's going to know, hey, Aussie Steve's the guy to go to if you got to sell, off market properties, or if you want to buy an off market property, something at a discount. So it seems like you're doing well. I'm assuming that behind you is a whiteboard, but it's not actually a whiteboard. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so it's like our deal flow. I think it's I mean I've got a like my company that I had in Australia was a tech company, so I've sort of been very influenced by that, so behind I think it's I mean the guys I'm used to it, but I think it's like agile is how the developers will do things, but it's just a board where I'm gonna like track deals through to close. So we use a CRM, by the way. Like we use Salesforce, so we very much are in a CRM. But when deals come close and we want extra attention, we like to put them up on this board. It just makes it more tactile. We'll have meetings and we'll look at the board and say, hey, we're trying to move them across. So it's everywhere from like where on one end where on that end
That's
where
crazy.
like their deals that we're negotiating, we've got offers out that are close that we want to track, and then it goes across to like contracted all the way to closed. So contracted, assigned. So we'll just track it through. It allows us to keep focus and energy on it.
Yeah, I love it. It's like you can walk in the morning and kind of instead of having to look into your CRM and try to figure things out, you can just visually. Are the colors? Do the colors mean anything, or are they just this? They happen
Yeah,
to be yellow and
no, the colors mean things. The colors are
okay,
different, like different acquisition people,
okay,
and stuff. So yeah, and there's some orange up there. So yeah, there's it's really a source. So we
okay.
know who's in charge of that card. Um, yeah.
Pink's winning right now.
Pink is winning, but in fairness, Yellow's just had a baby. She's been on maternity leave for like
Okay,
she's been on maternity leave for like 6 weeks. So
okay.
she's got to catch up now.
Yeah, she's in the thick of it like we are then. So
Yeah,
we need to
yeah,
maybe share some notes there. Uh, so I wanted to definitely pick your brain about the IPO in Australia. You did mention it was a tech company. Um, I would like to get some background on it, when you started it, how long, things like that, and how those things that you learned along the way maybe have transferred into what you're doing currently.
yeah.
So
So
yeah, when did you start this thing? You mentioned it's a tech company. Like what were you doing?
So it really, the nucleus of it all was like a lot of people. I'm assuming, like you interview. Like I was very heavily influenced by Robert Kiyosaki. So I heard him talk in 2000
Okay.
in Australia. A friend of mine just like he sort of convinced he had free tickets and he's like come to this thing and and so I was studying university at the time, and he just blew my mind, like just talking about like the cash flow quadrant, be in the B quadrant and the I quadrant, and like it just totally opened my eyes. And I still had 2 more years of university. I graduated in 2002, so I just like consumed all of his books, all of his content. We had and yes, they were cassette tapes. We had the whole like program with the cassette tapes that we used to listen to, and so that hardwired me to no, I don't. When I graduate, I don't want to get a job. I want to start a business. So I graduated in 2002. I started my own business. It was more a marketing consultancy. I studied marketing and economics at university.
Okay.
And I had sort of two mergers. Like I merged with a partner who was doing similar thing for natural therapists. So we sort of provided a marketing company around that, and that led us to someone who had a website, a directory for natural therapists who was just starting out too. So we then started working with them, and we merged companies.
Okay.
And there was the natural therapies was sort of our in, but there was another site that one of the partners was working on, which was home improvement pages, and that was about contractors, trades. We call them tradies in Australia, but like contractors.
Okay.
So that site, it was just a direct, when it started, started in 2004, it really was a directory, so better than the yellow pages. So someone could go and search for a plumber and see content about them. But we developed that was good at the time, and that was like much more beneficial than what people were used to using. But over time, it developed to be an app and being able to just post a job. So as opposed to looking for plumbers, say, hey, I have a plumbing job, and having plumbers contact you and making sure they're vetted and rated. So the American equivalent would be like Home Advisor.
Okay.
Or Angie's List. They're the sort of American equivalent companies. And yeah, we grew that. So like I was, my skills were sales and marketing. So, I had, really good partners. One of my partners is an accountant, it's great with the numbers. One of them was a developer and just like genius, Zuckerberg style smart, like
Oh wow.
product vision, programming and everything. So, my skill was sales and marketing. So, I really scaled the sales team, built a sales process. It was a two-sided marketplace, so we needed to get contractors on the site. So we signing up those contractors. They're our paying advertisers, and then we're marketing to get homeowners who are looking for contractors. So we're trying to balance out selling the tradies to be on our site and the homeowners coming in. So
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you were divvying your time up between the two. Trying to advertise to, hey, this is where you can come find vetted contractors and things, and then, hey, contractors, you got to come over here so you can get clients in.
Which is what is interesting in where I come to wholesaling. Like for me, because it's a two-sided marketplace. Two-sided marketplace is a really known. It's a common business model. Uber is a two-sided marketplace, right? They're connecting people with cars with people that need lifts, and Uber's providing the infrastructure to make it really easy for the consumer to like hail a ride, and really easy for the people to ride and make money. So like they're making their money by creating that marketplace, and that's what we did with High Pages. We're creating a marketplace and a two-sided marketplace between homeowners and contractors. And when I came to New Orleans, we originally came on a vacation, and we decided to stay. And I wanted to do property. I had some rentals in Australia. Like again, being a Kiyosaki fan, like I believed in building assets. So I bought a property off a wholesaler, and I didn't know what a wholesaler was. I'm like, like cool, like, but I'm like, wholesalers have the deals. So I'm like, all right, well, let me learn about wholesalers. My original intention was to be a customer, because I'm like if they got the deals, I want to know what they do and how they tick, and I want to be a good customer for them. And so I went and did a training on wholesaling by Bina Jones Cox. She's from Ohio, and it was in New Orleans. And she explained wholesaling, and it was sales and marketing. And I did sales and marketing for a two-sided marketplace. Like when I saw it, I'm like, that actually is my skill. It's what I've done. I know how to pull lists, market, sell, create a process. So I realized like that's my way into real estate. So I went all in on wholesaling and bringing my my sales and marketing skills to that.
Initiative. It's funny you mentioned that there towards the end, like sales and marketing. It seems like right? I've only done real estate and fitness coaching at this point. That if you know how to do those, you can do pretty much whatever you want to do. You can if you can sell and you can get in front of the right people to sell, like the world is kind of your oyster. It's,
Sales and marketing is, I mean, that's really the key to
yeah,
any. I mean, you can have, you need good products, you need good things to sell, right? But you need to be able to sell them.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
and again, that is a Kiyosaki thing. Kiyosaki said that you selling is the most important thing. You sell your vision. Anything you do, you sell in all the time. If you're trying to get a date, like you're selling. So like I took that on board, and I had some part-time jobs through university doing sales. So I really went, I need to learn sales. It's a skill to learn. And wholesaling is just that. And so I do draw a distinction because I am an investor. I like investment properties, but wholesaling is not investing.
right,
Wholesaling is sales and marketing. If you can use it in conjunction with investing like I do, where like I take down some of my own deals. So I'm doing this wholesaling thing. I'm generally assigning my deals and I'm making revenue to fund the business and the marketing. But then some of the deals I take down myself. And then that's when I'm actually investing, which is really a separate business to the wholesaling business.
yeah. I'd like to explore the taking down the deals, but before we get to that, you started this company in Australia in 2004, I think you said.
It's
Um,
2004 started, yeah, yeah.
okay, and so it involves like three, you and two other
There's
main
five
people.
five
Okay,
five partners.
okay, and you scaled it to a place where you could IPO it. When did the IPO happen, and how many people? How big was this company when you decided to do that? Because it seems like if
Um,
you're IPOing, like you got to have.
Yeah, we got to 300, got to
Okay,
300 staff. So I left operational capacity in 2018.
okay,
So we raised capital a couple times. So in 2018, News Corp invested in the company. They bought 30% share in the company, and that was sort of getting us ready to IPO. So we did that, and then we IPO'd in 2020. So I didn't do the IPO. I left operational capacity in 2018 and actually came to New Orleans on a 1 year break and but we IPO'd in 2020. I still had a significant number of shares. Those then we got to IPO, which is nice because you can sell. You don't need to sell all your shares. You
right.
can sell some, and it really breaks the company into small little pieces. And again, that was a Kiyosaki thing. Kiyosaki said that you make money selling shares, not buying shares,
Mm,
and that was always his thing. You create I never bought those shares.
right.
I created them.
Yeah.
We IPO'd. The company was valued at $325 million when it IPO'd. So we created those shares. I never bought them.
Yeah.
It's a creation of value.
That's pretty amazing. Um, so yeah, 2018, you were here for a 1 year uh, leave, whatever. I forget what you said exactly, but 6 years later,
Yeah.
you stayed. Was it really like you were just going to come here for a year and then go back to Australia? And
Yeah, even we came here for 6 months. I was taking a year off. So again,
okay,
sorry, I'm broken record. I'm going to quote Kiyosaki. He's very influential in my life. But he wrote a book, Retire Young, Retire Rich, and that was about when he sold out of his first company. His mentor just like begged him, told him, like made him take a year off. He was like, you just got to take a year off, clear your mind, don't think about your next move. Just don't do anything for a year, and then figure out what you want to do next. So when I left operational capacity in 2018, I sold some of my shares into that News Corp investment. So I'm taking a year off. And then we love America. Me and my wife have been to like 28 states. We've traveled
okay,
around a fair bit. So we love America. And New
yeah,
Orleans is like our favorite city. I became a New Orleans Saints fan. So like we just were like, let's go live in New Orleans for 6 months. My daughter went to a school in Australia that had a sister school in New Orleans. So we organized through the school to
yeah,
get her in for a semester. So we absolutely only intended to come for 6 months. Me and my wife are both from the same part of Australia. We grew up out we're third generation from that part. Like we always thought we'd be there forever. So we did not intend on moving.
mhm,
But it took about 2 months. My wife, we're having lunch actually because I wasn't working. It was fun. We literally ate out every day and we're just having fun.
Yeah.
And my wife said to me, "You know we're not leaving, Steve." She's like, "Figure that out." I'm like, okay.
Yeah. That's awesome. And how long did it take after this conversation for you to go, okay, I'm gonna start wholesaling?
Probably a couple of months, right? So at that point, I'm
Okay.
like, so she said that. I'm like, you know what? Like I was having fun too. We love the city, you know. And then I started going to some of the local RIAs. We've got NORIA, New Orleans Real Estate Investment Association. So I started going to the RIAs. I knew I wanted to do something in real estate. You know, I had 6 rentals in Australia. I wasn't a real estate person, but I'd bought some rentals and I believed in the assets. Again, Kiyosaki, right? Assets. So
Yeah.
I started going to the RIAs, and I'm like, that's when I'm like, okay, well, actually, I think property is way better in America than Australia, by the way. So
Okay.
I'm like, we love the area, yeah, I think it's better, and that's when I think I did that course. So it's probably like 4 or 5 months later when I decided to do wholesaling. I set it up as a business, so to stay here because I'm not a citizen. So
Mhm.
I got an E2 visa, which is a business investment visa. So you know, when you start a business, if you hire people, they'll let you in on that visa, and that's what I did. I showed a business plan, you know, and was able to do that. You do need to renew it every 4 years. I renewed it last year. But as long as you're making an economic impact in the country, they're happy for you to be here. Um,
Yeah. And you're keeping two or well, three people. I was trying
yeah.
to figure out how I could say two-person and a mother, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I wasn't that clever in the moment. Um, you mentioned that you're saying that real estate here is better than real estate in Australia.
Oh, yeah.
Did did the 2008, 2007, 2008 crash here? It's a long time ago for me,
Yeah.
um, mentally. Did that have an effect on Australia? Like, was it that far reaching?
It did, yeah, no, it did. I mean, they called it the GFC. I think they called it here too. But in Australia, the GFC, the global financial crisis, it was a
Oh,
global
okay.
crisis. It did affect everyone. We
Yeah.
we we were affected, not as hard as America. We did stimulus checks, very much like in the recent
Oh,
COVID thing. So we actually did that, and that helped. Everyone bought flat at the time. It was flat screen TVs were the new thing, and everyone bought flat screen TVs and kept the economy going.
yeah.
So we were definitely affected, not as bad. The real estate, we didn't have all the foreclosures you guys had because we didn't have all the subprime lending that wasn't
Mhm.
in existence. But I think something to note for your viewers, you know, is that one of the biggest differences in America is the debt. The fact that there's 30-year fixed debt.
Mhm.
Now, I don't know if you know this, most Americans don't. America's the only country in the world that has 30-year fixed debt.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's like most Americans take it for granted. So I'm like guys, you got to appreciate this more. It's amazing. Like really, because Fannie and Freddie like back it up. It's really subsidized, to be honest with you, because no sane lending institution would give you a 30-year loan at a low rate, maybe the high rate, but at a low rate fixed for 30 years. Like
Yeah.
it's not a good financial decision with inflation and all the things going on. Like it's dumb, right?
Yeah.
But because the banks they make them and they sell them and they securitize them and like so it's amazing. So in Australia, the longest fixed debt you'll get is 5 years.
Okay.
You know, and it's mostly 3 years, and so it's basically and they when it goes to adjustable, it adjusts like fast. Like it's not like hey every 6 months it gets reviewed. When I'll say the Fed, it's Reserve Bank in Australia, but the Fed equivalent. So when the Fed, you know, the Reserve Bank, they make an interest rate decision, it's almost immediate.
Mm.
When they raise rates, literally like you start getting letters that week from your bank saying your rate's gone up.
Really?
And when they lower rates, the mail it's a little slower. It's a little slower, but you know they'll eventually reduce your rate.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
but
funny. They're required to reduce the rate
they
or no?
are. They are. Well,
Okay.
they're not even. Yeah, it's not even a requirement, so to say, because sometimes they'll adjust a little bit more or less than what's done, but they mostly follow suit. And it makes monetary policy really effective. Like, think about it. Like when they raise the rates, Like when you do it here in America, it's like it makes it hard to buy a new house. But like when you got 30-year fixed debt, you're insulated, right? So
Right.
it only affects a smaller percentage of people. When they raise the rates in Australia, like almost everyone, like anyone that owns a home, they're all affected. Their disposable income just goes down. So it really puts the brakes on economy in a big way.
Hmm. There.
But so as an investor, like I love that. So why property is better here is because I can get 30-year fixed debt. You
Yeah.
know, I can do BRRRRs. You know, you can buy subject to the mortgage and take control of that 30-year fixed debt. Because that debt is super valuable, and it's why I like real estate because of the debt and because of
Yeah.
like that. That's what I like about it.
It seems like with the rate adjustments being so far reaching that they would be a little bit more picky about it. Is that
Yeah, I mean, yeah, well, I mean, it makes they are picky. I mean, but the Fed's picky too, but they are picky, but it helps them more because it's a more effective instrument. Because if they do want to if they want to like slow down growth, if they think the economy is overheating, well, raising the rate has a bigger effect. So it
right?
helps them, you know. Whereas you've seen what's happened in America as they've raised the rates, like it's locked everyone in, like it's
Yeah.
killed activity, but it's like it's a blunter instrument. So you know they use it. And it's painful.
Yeah. People aren't going to sell it when rates are 7%. When you have a 4% rate, you're like, well, I was thinking I might move, but I'm not going to move now unless you have a real need. You know, real
Exactly.
have to. I have to move. Like, no, it's not gonna. Sorry, it's not gonna work out. I'm hanging in there. Do you still have properties in Australia?
I actually sold them because the
Okay.
rate's going up. Actually, because I was getting
Yeah.
those letters. My intention was I'm not going to sell them. I like the diversification, so like I didn't want to. I wasn't going to sell them, but
Yeah.
yeah, we had a rate increase cycle just like America, pretty similar, and I was getting letters every month. You know, and it kept going up and up. So yeah, I did sell them. I sold my last ones maybe 6-7 months ago.
Okay.
Um, so I no longer have them. It's
No.
that.
Yeah. The T didn't get it. It seems like it would be harder to be an investor in that kind of an environment.
Oh yeah, much harder to plan.
Yeah.
The extra layer as well is that property is very unaffordable in Australia,
Okay.
and it's very hard to get cash flow in properties. So we have this benefit in Australia, which is called negative gearing. And basically, what that is, if you own a rental property and you lose money, it's a negative cash flowing rental property. You can claim that loss against your income. So, like
Oh,
your W-2 income, right? So what happens in Australia is a lot of the people that are making a lot of money, you know, your doctors, lawyers, etc., they pay a lot of tax. Our tax rate's high; it gets to 50% tax. So it's like
okay.
it sucks.
Wow.
So you're a high earning individual. You're paying 50% tax. You're looking at your tax bill, and your accountant says to you, "You're paying too much tax. Buy some rental property, get some losses, and claim your tax back." And they
Interesting.
do. So they buy property, it loses money every month. You know, they lose $1 and then they get 50 cents back, and they're like,
Yeah.
good deal.
I'm good with
Uh,
that.
does
Huh.
doesn't seem smart. I mean, but they do it for the appreciation. And in all
Right.
honesty, we have had a lot of appreciation. So like most people have done that have done well. But it obviously, and if you want to invest, you have to do that because that's who you're competing against. So that's why I say property is so much better in America because you actually can cash flow and you have 30-year fixed debt. You know, in Australia, you're losing money every month. You're holding on. You're basically putting money into it to get
Yeah.
a payout one day. And again, it probably will pay out, but it's not great.
Hmm.
I bought in areas that were basically neutral. So my properties were like neutrally cash flowed, and that was great for Australia. And they when I did sell them, I did make really good, you know, capital gains on them. But I didn't buy where I lived because where I
Okay.
lived was really expensive. Sydney, where I'm from, it's the second least affordable city in the world, and that
What?
is taking income to value. So it's not the most expensive property, though it's very expensive, but income to property value. Hong
Yeah.
Kong's
Interesting.
number one, Vancouver's number three. America doesn't kick in for like number nine, so it's it's very expensive. So the yields are really low. So for me, it made sense to rent because that landlord is losing money every month, right? So for me, I'm getting a good deal because I'm paying a small fraction of the
Yeah.
I'm paying a small fraction of value of the property in rent, and then I would buy properties in other areas that were a bit better and I could mutually cash flow. So I'm paying rent money, but I'm collecting rent money too.
Okay. Yeah, it's this is less of a tool for like quitting your W-2 than it is for like keeping more of what you make at your W-2.
Yeah, exactly,
You know,
exactly.
so you've got a bunch of properties that you're working on the board. You
Yep.
mentioned that you are, for lack of a better word, cherry picking deals to keep yourself. What are you looking at in the properties that you guys lock up to decide, yeah, this is something that I want to keep, and these are ones that we're going to keep moving down the pipe.
Um, yeah, so sort of probably two things. The the first one is I keep the easy ones, right? So all my deals are good. Like I don't keep the good deals, but I do keep the easy deals. My skills aren't rehabbing. Like I'm not much of a rehabber. Like I'm a sales and marketer. I love the asset of property, but I'm not a HGTV person. I'm not,
Yeah,
I'm not a good flipper. So and most deals you need to like most flippers they go and they add the value, right? So the deals I wholesale, they're there to add value. When I sell them, they you add value. The deals I tend to keep are like they're still wholesale priced, but like it's not. It's like paint and carpet. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like maybe as a tenant, a bad tenant. I don't mind dealing with a tenant, but like it's not. It's not so much the property. It might be a tenant or a dirty house. So I keep the easy ones really my criteria, and I want a BRRRR. So I'm buying anything. I don't like properties with too high an ARV because the ARV is too high. Generally, the rent doesn't like it. It's harder to BRRRR. So I like the reasonably priced properties where I can buy it, fix it up, put a tenant in place. If I can refinance out all my money and get that 30-year fixed debt and get my money back and sit on it,
yeah.
that's really my criteria. And then probably the second lens is I sometimes get in buy mode and out of buy mode. So you know, um, I've been less aggressive on buying because I bought a lot in a short period,
Okay.
BRRRRing, and it's like when you're BRRRRing, like I'm trying to get a infinite cash on cash return, right? I want to get my money in and I want to get it all out, and
Yeah.
then I want to sit on it. And when you do that, it's hard to get a lot of cash flow. Like the cash flow a little bit, but it's like I'm very happy to sit on that, but it's not. I'm not retiring on those BRRRR properties. I'm not living off them now. It's like it's more. I bought the property. It's it's amortizing. Inflation's going to make the rent go up, the value go up. It's a great investment, but like it's hard to live off that rent right away. So that's why I'm wholesaling. So I'm balancing that longer term wealth with the shorter term cash. So I will flow in. And right now, I'm just feeling like I got a bunch of properties. They're good. I'm happy with them. So I'm more just like wholesale, get fast cash, pay the bills, and just allow those properties to sit and do their thing.
I love that. I just want to unpack a little bit. Um, for I think probably most of the audience knows BRRRRing, buy, rehab, rent. Wait, shoot, I feel like I'm missing an R. Rinse, repeat. No, not
Yeah,
rinse,
that's it. That's it. You got it. Yeah, buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. That's it.
refinance. There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, refinance, repeat. When you're refinancing, are you using a DSCR, debt service coverage ratio,
Yes.
and and so you can just go out and buy properties? You're using a hard money lender to get into the property.
I generally was using my own cash. I
Oh,
mean, I did have some cash from, obviously from my IPO, so I
yeah,
was able to just use. But it's good and bad, right? Because I was able to use my own cash, and then 6 months later, I would do a DCSR loan, and then get that cash back, and then I just use that cash again. So I'm basically recycling
yeah.
my money through the properties. I have done some hard money loans. It definitely works with hard money loans. It definitely works. One of my friends who's a really good creative investor, she told me because I was buying my own cash. It was easy, and she's like, you think it's easy, but like it's actually a limitation.
Right. Yeah.
And she was right because it's only like I had some cash and it's good and I could use it, but like there's a limitation. She used a lot of private money, so
Mm,
she's like, it's gonna get you, and she was right.
yeah. Yeah. You can only go buy one at a time or two at a time. Whereas if you spread it out, you could go buy 10. Or it doesn't sound like that's your motivation is to just go buy 100 at a time. But um, yeah, especially it's good though when you're able to buy it because you're sourcing the deals yourself. you've been able to negotiate to a price that works for you where you can buy it, and then knowing where your end product is with the DSCR, which is something that we're working on right now, is like I know where I got to get to, so I know where I need to start from, so I can get all that money back out and go
Yeah.
do it again and rinse and repeat it. Like that's where the power of the BRRRR is.
It's so powerful. Like it's such a good wealth building tool to
Yeah.
like you just creating those assets. You know, you're owning them. You know, you generally you're getting a 75% LTV. So you've got equity in them. There's equity there, and you just can sit on it. Again, don't expect it to do a lot of cash flow. I think if you can think of it more long term, you can just stack a lot of assets, and you can always sell them. I mean, the equity's in there too, but
Yeah.
like, because it's really the same as a flip. Just the difference is a flip is going to get in there and they're going to sell it, and that 25% equity, they're going to get that now, you know, and that's fair enough. But for me, if you can afford to not take that equity, you know, you're not getting capital gains. You're now going to long-term capital gains, and you're letting that equity build over time. And with that 30-year fixed debt, I mean, it's beautiful because we all know inflation's going to happen. You know, so as inflation happens, the rents go up, the value goes up, but that 30-year debt stays the same. So in 10 years' time, if you're still paying that debt, I mean, the burden of that money is just, it's worth so much less, you know. And then the kicker is you're also amortizing, you've got principal pay down. So in 10 years' time, that payment's such a less of a burden, and a lot more of it's paying off the equity in the house. And that's just, it's a slow and sure way to build really significant wealth and, you know, multi-generational, you know, wealth.
I love that, like the long-term vision thinking, right? You have your active income with the wholesaling, and by buying some assets, you're offsetting that from a tax, tax standpoint, because you are able to claim depreciation if you want to claim the full. Is it 6 or 7 years off the bat? 7 years, right? You can, or like, hey, I bought a few houses, I don't have to claim it all right now. I can wait and hold that off, and like knowing that. What's an average interest rate that you're getting for your DSCRs right now?
I did one the other day, got 6.75%, which was actually pretty good in this market. I have a lot though. A lot of mine are like 4.25% that I bought a couple of years back. I was really cooking back then, and it was funny because that 4.25%. I remember I was encouraging everyone to like take this fixed debt, and at the time though, because it's in an LLC, so when I was getting 4.25%, it's like if you were buying a primary, you were getting like 3%. And people thought that 4.25% was like high. I'm like, guys, like you can get as many as you want. There's no limit. Like, and now they look and go, oh man, if you got all this 4.25% fixed debt, I'm like, yeah, I told you to take that.
It takes an Australian or somebody outside of the country to know, like, hey, this is great because it could change real bad. And now it's we're looking at 7.5 sometimes. Excuse me, but even at the 7 or the 7.5, like when you're thinking long term and you're very little or no money into this deal, you're winning.
Yeah, I mean, I think because you can look back and go, like 7 isn't the 3s and the 4s you get, right? I don't think we're going back there, and you can cry about what you could have had, but just if the deal makes sense, it makes sense, you know. And yes, it's harder. Like with it, definitely the BRRRR's harder now. The rates are higher, but it just, as long as you know the number, just make it work. You know, you might need to negotiate a lower price. You just if the number works, doesn't matter what the interest rate is. If the tenant can pay off that debt, it's a deal. If you can get all your money back, it's a deal. Just do it.
Yeah, and if you do it really, really well, you can even get some out at the refi too. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I've done a bunch.
Really, like negative, or wait, infinite negative
return plus plus extra cash. Yeah, I've done a few of those, and that's nice. And it's tax free. The benefit too is because it's debt, it's tax free.
Right.
So that's a really good way to do it.
When you kind of answered this question already with the sales and marketing. You were great at sales and marketing with your company that you IPO'd in Australia. It sounds like you brought that into the wholesaling company. Are there any other like skills or things that you learned from that company that you built from the ground up that you were able to bring over to here? I'm thinking especially kind of from a leadership standpoint. You had 300 people. You weren't in charge of all 300 people, but you had people that you led there, and now you have people that you're leading here. You mentioned selling selling your vision, buying into the vision. Is that, I don't, yeah. What else?
Definitely. No, it definitely plays out here, and I definitely, all that experience of team management. I had like at the time, not 90 of the people were my direct reports, like the whole
Okay.
set, like that was so I had like 90 of the 300 were under
Yeah.
me. So I definitely bring that knowledge. I think even just the CRM. So like
Mm,
I've used Salesforce for a long time, and most real estate people don't use Salesforce, or they're
right.
starting to. Although they're starting to actually, there's some people doing it, which is cool. But like, I just set up my CRM like I had at home,
Mm,
and if you looked at it, you'd probably think it's weird because it is. It's not. I wouldn't recommend people use the same system as me because it's just like I did it because I did it. I had done it for so long that it was like second nature.
yeah.
So, but like my CRM is like I had the same setup, the same sales process, like and I did enjoy like just I mixed a lot of skills, even just like brand, like had a brand to like you know our contractors. They need to see us and like like us, and like for me, my buyers, I need to brand to my buyers. They need to know me. They need to know we're working, and so I did learn a lot of that, which I brought to it. I've learned to listen to all the gurus too. So like I've done all the like I've listened to the gurus here in Australia, in America, like learning about wholesaling. So like I've blended a lot of their stuff together, but
Okay.
I I have my own little flavor.
Yeah.
Again, I'm in New Orleans now, so it's my own gumbo, right? Man, I got my own little ingredients making a gumbo. And so I think I have some ingredients no one else really has, to be honest.
Yeah.
Which just makes us just a little different. I got a lot of the same ingredients of everyone else because I am following and learning, but I'm just got my own little mixture.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that you said that because, for you, it's easy for us to see, we can hear, I don't, you're different, right?
Yes.
You can hear it like, okay, he's not from here, he's not from around here. So you're bringing the Australia, but we all have stuff that we can bring to like put our own flavor into the pot, like you're saying, right? We got to learn from the people that are ahead of us, right? Like listen to the gurus, take what but then like put our own spin on it. That's what's going to separate us from the pack. I literally just before this, I was recording a video about like talking on a script. And like I talk to a lot of people and they get on the phone with a seller and like, hey, Mr. John, or hey, is this Mr. John? Click. Like, okay, dude, you got to do something to break away from that. Put your own
Yeah.
little spin on it. Figure out what is Nathaniel, what is Steve,
Yeah.
what is, you that you can inject into that conversation. Like starting with the script is great when you're first starting out because you need to build some confidence, and having the script that you can fall back on is going to help you build the confidence you need to build that rep. But as soon as you can get away from that, like, and start putting yourself into the call, you got to do it because that's what's going to get you to a point where Aussie Steve's at, and being able to hire some acquisitions people.
Yeah.
Um,
You need some of your own person. Everyone has their own unique thing, and they should bring it. And you should have your own personality. You want a script or a structure, but you got to sound like yourself. And my acquisition people sound a little different because like I try to keep. They have a script. I try to keep them on it, but I
mm,
give enough control to like let them find their flavor. So
yeah.
it's like and also like you see like I call myself Aussie Steve, right? Like because me being Australian was a disadvantage, right? But I
Mm,
turned into an like because you need to be who you are. Like me being Australian, like some people call me a carpetbagger.
okay.
Like buying properties in a Yankee, like
Great.
I'm not local. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to be a local company, trying to be local, but I'm not a local, and that's a disadvantage.
Mm,
But it is who I am.
yeah.
So I'm going to lean into it, and I'm Aussie Steve. I play up being Australian. Like it's part of my brand, and it's like it is who I am, and I think everyone has their own you know their own thing, and like lean into it, be yourself,
Yeah.
like just create that business that has your personality in it as well.
I love it. I want to make sure that I'm respectful of your time here, Aussie Steve. Um, we talked about this at the top of the hour here, or actually before we went live, and you've mentioned Robert Kiyosaki. So I want to have you throw those ones out because um, people are well aware at this
Yes.
point that Robert Kiyosaki was an influence on you. Do you have any other books, maybe like you're saying, specific guru mentors that have influenced you, have allowed you to get to where you're at right now?
Probably the biggest book that's helped me in America particularly is The Go Giver.
Okay, I love that.
Um, yeah, Go Giver was like Go Giver just about adding value, being helpful, not being transactional, just giving without needing to receive. And if you do that, like the universe gives back to you. And I read that when I came here, and I really embraced it. It was interesting coming to America. Like we knew no one. Like I brought my whole family here. We knew zero people. Like the first person I met was the person that was our Airbnb host, and we became friends. But like that, like I knew no one. So it, but I did have some skills and I did some knowledge from it. So like I started helping people. I'm like, hey, what's the tech scene like here? Like, I started meeting some tech founders. Like, what are you all doing? Can I help? Like, can I give you some advice? Like, I'm real estate. Like, what are you all doing? I'm like, I helped some of the real estate people with business stuff, and they helped me with real estate stuff. I was just like, let me immerse myself. Let me meet people. Let me just help and give value. I run a meetup here with a partner as well. So like, let's do a meetup. Let's so that go giver mentality really helped me. And now I have such a big network in this market. Like people help me because like I've helped everyone, and I'll give my number. People call me and like I'll give them advice, and like half the time I forget who they are. I'm like I don't even know who that person is, but like I spent 20 minutes talking about DCSR lending and so I think that go giver really helped in that regard. In terms of like the gurus, Vina Jones Cox was very influential on me. I highly recommend her. She's OG. Like
Okay.
she's in Ohio. She's not like she's been through all the cycles. I went and did all her trainings. I went out to Ohio, learned how to work property. So like I got a lot from her structure, and then a lot of the new school entrepreneurs. Like I listened to them as well, and they have probably more up to date marketing. But business wise, Vina Jones Cox was been
Okay.
super influential on me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I appreciate that. The go giver is a big one. Uh, it's it's one of those switches that you have to flip, especially when you're starting out, and it's like, well, how I just got to go give value to people. Like, what I need, but you got to be able to go give without expecting anything back. That's when you start to get things back. But it's hard to go give without expecting things back, for sure.
I guess it is, right. Like, and now I'm so once right. And I'm so used. Like now I know. I'm just like things come to me. It's like I give so freely because I just know it comes back in many ways. But if you have that scarcity mindset, I think it's hard. If you're in scarcity and you're like, it's hard to realize that like actually just be more open. Just go.
Yeah.
Just go. If you're not transactional, the universe opens up to you
Yeah.
for real.
Yeah. Just be genuine and be valid, and just try to help people out. Um, when your time is done on this earth, Steve, whether that happens in New Orleans or back in Australia, what do you want to be remembered for from the people that you leave behind here?
Well, my most important thing would be like being a great dad. I love my kids. Like I do everything for them. Like the most valuable thing would be to be seen as a great dad by them and to impact their lives and their generations down the track. I guess outside of that, I would just like people to people know I was genuine. I was helpful. I was just have a nice impact. My dad was really friendly if I think about it, and he had a lot of friends, and his network is always helpful. And like his funeral was like massive. It was like lots of people that just cared about him. So I'd like the same thing to be the case here, where people just think I made some sort of impact on their lives.
Yeah, man, that Australian guy from New Orleans.
That's it.
Well, I appreciate you. Before we go, what do you like? What are you guys struggling with? What are you needing more of in your business right now that would kind of propel you into 2025?
Yeah, we're just trying to scale our deals. So like, I guess to your audience, anyone who's got deals in Greater New Orleans, Louisiana, like we're happy to help. We do a lot of joint ventures where we find buyers. So if you're out of state and don't have buyers in our market,
Mm,
come get with me. I would love to do more deals. We help underwrite deals for you. If you don't know the price, like we'll underwrite it up front and say, hey, get it this price, we'll move it. So, we're just trying to scale those. I'm trying to scale the deals without scaling marketing on my staff too much. That's we're ready to do more deals.
yeah.
And that's really our focus.
Awesome. Yeah, you got to do more of this stuff. Where can people reach out to you if they have deals or if they want to be on your buyers list? What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so my website's homebuyerlouisiana.com. You can go through there. I'm pretty active on Facebook. Would be the best place to find me. Stephen Keighery on Facebook or LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on that.
Okay.
I'm showing my age. I'm not really much on Instagram and TikTok and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm really Facebook, man. That makes me
Yeah.
old these days.
The links for I have the link for your meetup in the
Yes.
description.
Oh, yeah. I should mention. I should pitch it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We run the West Bank Real Estate Investors Meetup. So if you're local around here, it's an awesome meetup. We do it like podcast style. We have real local investors. So there's not gurus. There's not like there's local people, and we interview
Yeah.
them. There's an awesome YouTube channel that has like past interviews. If you're in Louisiana, if you want to hear like what people in Louisiana are doing, like the real investors, it's a really cool channel as well.
Yeah. That's awesome. I'm glad. Yeah, give you a chance to plug it. You gave so much kind of value here throughout this almost an hour now. Do you have any parting tips, especially for people that are just starting out and looking to get to, a few employees under their belt?
Yeah, I would say keep going. So probably the best thing I'll say is I remember it took me 6 months to do my first deal.
Mm,
Okay, so and I was working hard, right? But I did my first, second, and third deal in the same week,
mm,
right? And it wasn't that I figured it out. I didn't finally go, oh, okay, that's how you do it. Those three came from different points in that 6 months journey. Was the energy I was putting out, the sellers I was speaking to, the seeds I was sowing start to come back. And since that point, I've been really consistent. So just it definitely can happen faster, and some people will do a deal really fast. Like that is 100% possible, but sometimes it takes longer. But just give your efforts time to compound. I could have stopped on month 5 and gone, oh, this doesn't work. And I could have stopped.
yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't. And now those efforts continue to compound. And I do deals from people I spoke to 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago. So the longer you do it, you're getting all the immediate stuff, but you're getting all the benefits from all the conversations you've had in the past. So if you can keep going, keep pushing, it gets easier, it gets better. You just keep going.
Yeah. So the orange is you up there on the board. No.
I actually don't really have a color.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what? You know what? Actually, I did one deal that like didn't involve the other people. There's a green one up on the other side. It's done. And it's
Okay.
like that's the one deal that no one else touched this year.
That's all.
No.
What?
Okay. Let me on that. Let me give you this
Yeah.
this bit of advice, and it is a Kiyosaki quote, right? To be successful, you need to be lazy and incompetent.
Mm,
Now that's jarring, right? Because that does that like. But let me explain what he means by that, right? So Robert said that like if you're competent, if you're the most competent person, you'll never grow, right? You
right.
want to be incompetent. You want to have people around you that are smarter than you. So don't be the competent one. Be incompetent. Lean on people. It's similar to who not how, right? And lazy, like you don't want to do all the work. You need to
Right.
you need to outsource, delegate. So I am lazy and incompetent. Right.
Yeah.
But I got good people around me. So I'm lazy and confident, but we still run a good business and do well.
Heck yeah. Yeah. It's I forget who it's like maybe Henry Ford or it's somebody that said the best person that you can get to do a task, to figure out a task, is a lazy person, because they're gonna like figure out the most efficient way to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I wouldn't normally, but I wanted to ask a follow-on question with your piece of advice, which is just keep going. What was it that kept you going month 4, month 5, months, into month 6?
Just belief. And I was listening to a lot of podcasts. I really, when I started wanting to wholesaling, I really did my blinkers on and listened to all just wholesaling podcasts. Just innate belief. I think you need to believe in yourself. I do remember actually there was a podcast I was listening to. I was listening to Sean Terry. And
Okay.
he was talking about you got to crack the universe. So something like that, you got to crack the universe. You got to like put such a high effort in and like that. I think that was in my head. I was, and when in that 6 month when I did those like 1, 2, 3, like I'd crack the universe, because I just pushed so hard. So I think you just need to believe. You need to believe in yourself. You need to be okay to fail. It's all right. You're gonna mess up. You're gonna lose a deal. You're gonna fumble a deal. Like that's okay. That's just learning. Just just keep going. If you keep going, you'll get there.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just gotta have belief in yourself.
Yeah. I appreciate you, brother. That's such great advice to part the ways. Hang tight. I'm gonna boot you, Aussie Steve, real quick.
Awesome.
Uh, that was Aussie Steve from New Orleans, wholesaling out of New Orleans. Like he said at the end, I see so many times people give something 1, 2, 3 months and they just give up. You've got to let that pipeline fill up because, like you said, you could do a deal from somebody that you spoke to 2 years ago and they just weren't ready. The timing wasn't right yet. So with that said, if you're working on your skills, especially as a wholesaler, but just as an investor and entrepreneur in general, I'd love to help you out. I do have a completely free Zoom that I host on Thursdays at noon Eastern time called Helping Hands Hour. You can go to nathanielhovsepian.com and find the link to register for that. I do it every week. Even if I got a tickle in my throat, you just have to hear me cough sometimes. Until next week, later, y'all.